Dear colleagues, thank you very much. I would like to thank the audience that you are still here, even if you are tired, and I also would like to thank the organizers to be here. I will be a little bit different in topic because I would like to focus on labor and social law issues, as I'm labor and social lawyer. And I have tried to pick some examples from my project work, how to deal with this demographic issue. And what was my line of thinking? First, I will identify the problem to you. Then I'm going to speak about labor law regulation, but from a different point of view, maybe an unusual point of view. And after that, I will present some strategies to address this issue. You can see here some data that we have already heard in the morning. By identifying the problem, I would like to highlight 4 very important things. I'm not going into the data and into the details because I really appreciate that you are still here, and I would like to be not so long. So the first thing is the aging society that we all know. But there is a second problem, and we haven't heard a lot about that this day, and this is youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is a very important topic. So when we talk about demographic challenges, we also have to speak about this problem. And the European Pillar of Social Rights and its action plan also deals with this. The third one is, as we have heard from the economist colleague, Professor Michalis, that there is a decline in the working age population. And I think it is much more serious that the working age population is going to be much higher in the low and middle income countries. And what does it mean? If we go to the low and middle income countries, then all the problems, which are financial problems regarding sustainability, address these countries. Then I think the strategy to cope with this problem is much more difficult. And the fourth problem that I would like to highlight is the expenditure that we have to spend on social protection system and on social services. And I was very surprised to hear that economists do not really deal with the social side, as with Thomas, we've been talking about that. Economists do not really deal with the social side of the economy, but economy and I think the social issues go hand in hand. So these are the 4 very important elements that really give a framework to the problem from labor and social law issues. And it is also a very important fact that when we try to solve this, we cannot really rely only on labor law regulation. And what shall labor law regulation do is not so much, because it really concentrates on the provisions of the labor code. It is a much broader issue, how we must solve this problem. It is a sort of employment policy, fiscal policy, and social security issue. After identifying the problem, I would like to speak about labor law regulation. But in what sense? When we talk about the provisions of the labor code, maybe it's a little bit surprising, but as everything is changing around labor law, the economy and the social side, the society, I always try to find some permanence in labor law. And as I'm getting older, I always look at the values. And I think it's very important that when we would like to find some permanence in the labor regulation, then we have to look at the human rights and other values. And why? Because when we talk about aging society, and now I'm going to focus on the issue of aging and not on the young unemployment and not on the dependency ratio. So when we focus on aging, then it's very important that if we want the older people to be as long as possible at the labor market, then it really does matter what kind of conditions we can provide them. Of course, it's not only for elderly people, it's for every working people. But what do we mean under decent work? And I'm absolutely convinced that the fundamental value of labor law is that it provides security and predictability. And even internally, within the regulation, and also externally, by providing as a state a social safety net, which helps to provide in time of disruption. Labor law in itself is underpinned by very important values, and these are building blocks. And I'm also convinced about that when we talk about decent work, then we have to look at the European Pillar of Social Rights, which has 3 pillars. And this is what we have to look at when we talk about decent work of active people. And these are, as you see, equal opportunities, decent working conditions, and also social protection and social inclusion. So this is a very narrow framework. When the society is aging, we have to strive to have such a labor market where these values will prevail. And what are the strategies? And this is already the 3rd point and the last point, but I will have more slides on it. What are the strategies to cope with the aging issue and all the labor market issues? And I have looked at two authors, and you can see the first one from 1999, Alexander Samorodov, who prepared an employment policy paper for the International Labour Organization. And you can read in that paper that early retirement scheme that we have all learned in our studies, it is really a sort of hidden, actually it's really a benefits trap. And it's a really hidden incapacity approach towards elderly people, and we really have to motivate them. And we can see another project from 2020, you can see from Harosty and Ostermeyer, and these authors have tried to project some strategies which will happen this decade. And what are the strategies? You can see here activating the potential labor force at company level, maybe making workplaces and work organizations be adapted for the needs of the older workers with flexible working arrangements and of course with a reasonable accommodation. We should have public awareness campaigns this decade, they say. We should have financial incentives to recruit older people, and we also need public employment services for offering training opportunities for elderly. And I think they were right. These were some orientation for us in the first project, which you cannot see here, but I'm telling you, trade unions were striving to work together with theoretical and practical lawyers at the University of Miskolc, at our faculty, tried to find answers for generation gaps. Because these trade unions in the commercial workplaces where they represented the workers, they faced that problem that we have got at the same workplace young and old generations, and they cannot really handle these generation gaps. So what shall be done? And we had tried to help them with some theoretical approaches, but of course many practical approaches, and I have just brought some examples to you. Because in order to help at the labor market and at the workplace generation gaps, first we have to look at the human resources tools. And it is a very important human resources issue. with all the motivation scheme, with all the mediation scheme that it can really use. And besides HR tools, it's very important to look at collective labor law rights, which are negotiation and consultation and information between the employer and the trade unions, or let it be the workers' organization if it's not a trade union. So labor law regulation can contribute a lot to manage these intergenerational differences. And besides labor law regulation and HR tools, I think it's very important also to emphasize that we always have to look at the labor and social market policy which surrounds the labor law regulation and the HR tools. And what kind of labor and social market policy should be established by the state. You can see some examples because we need vocational education and training. You can see there, this is the program up, or healthy working conditions, age management strategies, employment services, preventing age discrimination, employment-friendly tax benefit schemes, transferring the experience, and reconciling work and care. But it is also very important, I just would like to highlight one thing, that we should have family-friendly labor laws. And what does it mean to have family-friendly labor law? You might know that since the 1st of January, Hungary also implemented the work-life balance directive. Of course, there are many people who criticize that. Actually, I also criticize it at some points, but I was very lucky to prepare a national report on this work-life balance directive and how we implemented it. And the questionnaire was very interesting because all the European countries have been asked, the European member states, how they have implemented. And which was very curious, or which was very interesting about that, was that there were always 3 points that we had to answer regarding maternity leave, paternal leave, and parental leave. And what were these? For example, it is a very important thing when you can transfer this right or not. It is a family-friendly labor law, I think, if you can transfer your right to be, for example, a parent, or to be able to take care of the elderly. And the second one was very important, whether you can use all these leaves for people who are self-employed. And in Hungary, we do not have really in mind this problem. Self-employed are not entitled to all these leaves. And the third one was also an important issue. How do we deal with platform workers? And actually, we do not deal with platform workers at all. And I think it has very far-reaching consequences in the long run when we think of taking care of the elderly. Then I would like to highlight another project, and most of you have been sitting in this room at this conference, so sorry for that in June, because we were working on the sustainability of the social security system. We have tried to find answers to demographic challenges with the Eastern European countries. And we have 8 national reports, as you see, and we have tried to find the ways how our neighboring countries, or almost neighboring countries, deal with this issue. And one was very interesting, that in the field of rehabilitation, we have made very good progress in this region. And when we look on the expenditure of social protection system, then at the second place, there are sickness and disability. So when we try to improve that system, then it has a very good effect on the sustainability of the social security system. Because at this time in the EU, 5% of the GDP is spent on social expenditures. Another important issue in our region was that we have got quite a lot incentives how to care about the older people, but it would be very important to have long-term care regulation, and unfortunately we do not have that. In Romania we have got a long-term care strategy which has not entered into force, and the second one is the Slovenian Act. This is the Long-Term Care Act, but as far as I know it only doesn't work yet. We have got quite a lot of provisions on making sustainable the pension system. I'm not going into detail in it. And of course, we have got very good suggestions from the Czech Republic and from Slovenia how to make the health sector much more sustainable financially. However, last but not least, I would like to stress that the sense of vulnerability could be overcome by strengthening the economic resilience. And there will be no well-functioning social system without a well-functioning economy. And the challenge is combining both the economic and social aspect in a balanced manner. And in this dilemma, it is very crucial how we finance the social security system. And the public expenditure spent on social protection, which is the external side of the labor law regulation, is very high. Therefore, in times of these kind of demographic challenges, I think, let it be migration or aging society, it is crucial to find sustainable ways of financing in every respect. And to solve this task, each participant must have a role. The state, the public authorities, every working people, employers, business and social partners, civil partners, and the media. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry because I'm just, I don't know whether I was in time or not. I hope so. So thank you very much for your kind attention.